Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Facebook for our second day of our Tramathon Live Week. Yesterday, you'll know we did our Q&A session down at Seaton Station, which went really well. I'm glad to see all the questions coming in. Today, we're back up at our sort of headquarters, our Riverside depot, where all our trams are currently inside. And we're going to take you on a bit of a tour through the site, throughout the trams, and we'll give you some more sort of specific detail on each tram as we come through it. I'm joined again by my colleague, superstar Gareth, our operations manager. He's giggling at that. Yes, fantastic. So the support we've been seeing so far is fantastic. We're just coming up to £2,000 on donations, but we want to really see that going. Our prize giveaway will start at £2,500 on Friday, so we really want to see those going. So share it nice and wide with your friends, family. Again, minimum of £5, and you could win free travel for life. So that's fantastic. Also, we're with our Devon Top Attractions membership. They're also giving away a golden ticket. So that's free entrance to each attraction throughout Devon. That's part of the Devon Top Attractions, and that'll be valid for the 2021 season. So if there's any interesting bits there as thoughts as to how we're going to redeem that for next year. But again, it's worth £2,000. So a fiver donation. Just visit tram.co.uk/Tramathon. You can also donate through Facebook. And all the links are on the tram.co.uk/Tramathon link. So without further ado, and me yapping on again, we'll get Gareth, he's a bit more interesting than I am, to come in, and we'll go through our Riverside depot. So it's also worth mentioning that this is where all our staff are based, staff room, and this is actually our staff door when people arrive in the morning, and so you'll probably start to see a few of the PPE and some of the distancing markers that we've started to put out, as this building will now be one way when we reopen with our staff, hopefully in July. So Gareth, should we get started? We'll go through?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic, I'll follow you. 2 meters. Let's do it. Like I say, we got our normal PPE signage and our safety signage, which was all there. So we've usually got a welding bay in on the left, which is where that room is. But added to this now is our 2 meter apart signage. And I'm sure my Mr. Cameraman Lee will scan down and see the 2 meter markers on the floor as well. So we start to get really ready for all our PPE and all our safety and spraying down everything. We want to make sure that we're ready.
No.
Just before we get started down the trams, it's worth noting that we do have 2 workshops at Riverside Depot. Our wood workshop, carpentry, and our metalworks workshop. That's the right way of saying that. Yeah, fantastic. I'm getting nods. Good. So in on the right here, I'm going to give you a little peek through. I'm sure one of our carpenters are somewhere to be found, but I'll give you a peek through there. If you want to peek through, there's our woodworking carpentry shop. Lots of things going on here. This is probably one of our busier workshops at the moment as we're going through everything, rebuilding and restoring trams, especially number 7. A lot of work will be done in here for number 7. Just to the left, we've got one of our old bus shelters that we've taken ownership of, and this will be, once it's restored, I think we'll be going up to Colliford. Yeah, Colliford. We'll be seeing that soon. So it's part of our sort of new experiences here at the Tramway. Right. Gareth.
Josh.
What have we got on the left here? It's a big tram.
Number 14. We talked about number 14 yesterday. This is our oldest tram, 1904 heritage. Again, ran on the streets of London. I won't repeat myself from yesterday too much, but you can actually see the tram here. Currently being restored again. You can see a lot of it's in flat and preservative, waiting to be having its top coat on. Then to your right, my left, we can see the metal workshop, lathe, mill, usual type of equipment that you find in a metal workshop, not being used at the moment, hence why it isn't extremely tidy. We don't usually have wooden pallets in front of the lathe, obviously, but that should give you a little bit of an overview to the metal workshop here. We do have to manufacture a lot of our own parts now, obviously, because you can't, just can't get parts for trams anymore. So let's go this way. Josh is up here.
Yes, so number 14, is there anything interesting about the control in this one? No? No. Getting lots of shaking heads. But can we get just a quick view on board? And obviously back to the left, inside. Is there any specific about the upholstery in there in terms of...
Sorry, Josh.
The upholstery? No, great. Okay, so tram number 14. If you've got any questions about each tram as we go through, just make sure you put them in the comments below. Adam, thank you for your question. How many trams have we got here at the Tramway?
We've got 14 in total. Like yesterday, a 13 passenger carrying and 1 works car. To your right, if the camera will pan around, is one of our newest pieces of equipment, which is a tamping machine. Used for resettling the track and levelling up the track. Makes the track boys' job a lot easier than using picks, hammers and shovels. So that's our newest piece of equipment here, that came into service with us last year. Josh?
Yeah, so it's worth mentioning the amount of man hours that this piece of equipment actually saves us. Although it's a big capital spend, you'll actually, in terms of the longevity of it, the man hours we'll actually end up saving with this piece of equipment is tenfold. So it's a fantastic piece of equipment that we'll be able to use. I think what we'll do is we'll go back to the engine room, battery room. Right, to the right. Fantastic. Have I locked it again? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Right. There we go. Gareth, you'll know a bit more about this.
Okay, we've got to be really careful because we are adhering strictly to the 2-metre distancing rule, obviously. So, this is what we call our electrical room. You need a key to get in here for obvious reasons. In front of me here is the original AC/DC generator set that we used to use a lot. We still run it up at peak times to top the batteries up. But all this is now replaced by this little bit of electronic wizardry, which is a solid state charging piece of kit. Tells us all conditions of battery, voltage of battery, etc, etc, etc. So interesting if you're into electronics, folks. Boring as anything if you're not. If we get our cameraman to spin round, you'll see one of the old distribution boards. I'll get right out the way. And that sums up in here really, and obviously we have our mains electricity coming in here. The depot is equipped with a roof full of solar panels to our green, for our green energy, and we can tell you a little bit more about that later. I will now hand you back over to Josh because she's outside, which will give me a chance to come outside.
Hello everybody. Right, so what we'll do is we'll actually go further to the south end of our of the depot. So we'll go to number 4, I think, Gareth. So this is the back of our depot. Multiple of uses over the years. We sort of chop and change the way we use the space depending on the use case. Just to the back there is the sort of welding area though, so that's a sort of more specific place. But to the right here we have our lovely, quite famous to us, well not famous to us, but very unique and sought after when it's out in service, tram number 4. Gareth, what you can tell us about this?
Okay, tram number 4 is our scaled down version of the full-size Blackpool boat trams. As Josh said, it's very popular during the summer. That we have got drivers and we have actually got passengers who ride it in the pouring rain because they do really enjoy it. And if you join us Thursday, Friday for our 24-hour Tramathon, weather permitting obviously, light rain we'll still run it, heavy rain we may swap it for an enclosed car. This will be out most of the time. If you live locally in Seaton and you're on the Axmouth Road or up at Colliford Level Crossing, do come out and give us a nice distanced wave as we go past each hour. Lights will be on, and we'll take it from there. Josh?
Yes, fantastic. So yeah, one of our really more unique of our trams, obviously with our enclosed and double deckers. This one's very well known as to be a sort of Blackpool half-scale replica. But let's see what we've got. Few questions. Let's start with Adam asks, how many will you use on your 24-hour tram marathon? We want to use a varied amount. It'll depend on weather permitting, obviously, with things like number 4, a few of our enclosed saloons, but also anything. There's a few with maintenance outstanding, so some might not be able to go out. But I think we're looking at things like 19, 4, maybe 8, or one of the big ones like 9, 10 or 11. So, but if you've got any requests for any trams, I'm sure I can sort of nudge our maintenance guys into getting one ready for Thursday or Friday. He's shaking his head.
It is planned to use for the bulk of it if we can, because it's such an attractive tram. So, we talked briefly about 16 yesterday. We talked about them all. This is our ex-Bournemouth Corporation now enclosed single-deck car. Was an open-top double-decker on the days it ran in Bournemouth. If we can ask Lee to pan down slightly, you will see the start of one of our open pits. There are 3 actual open pits in the depot here. One is mainly covered all the time because it is below the water table and it does tend to get a little bit damp. These 2 are good. These are used for maintaining, obviously, all the stuff underneath trams. I think we'll squeeze up the side now of 16 and 4.
Yeah, just whilst we do that, Stuart, I think you asked if we've ever done any evening type excursions, especially with number 4 that lights up. We have done in the past. With a lot of this, it comes down to costs and availability to get running. But obviously, weather permitting, it's hard to sort of forecast sometimes what we've got. But there were plans to come back in September with some evening excursions. However, due to the current situations, all our experiences and events have had to be postponed or cancelled this year, unfortunately. So, fingers crossed. Request it, send your emails in, and that'll allow me to push it forward to us all in the management team to sort of get something going next year, maybe. So we're going to try and squeeze down by Gareth.
Okay, so I'm stood leaning against car 2, 1964, built at Eastbourne originally. If you look at car 2, if you remember when we were just looking at car 14, and I said car 14 originally was an open vestibule, open double-deck car in the streets of London. This is a scaled-down version of what 14 was in its heyday on the streets of London. This is a very popular car again from the driver's point of view in a nice sunny weather. Not very popular when it's pouring down with rain, and apparently some of the passengers don't like getting wet, but some of them do. We do have a lot of passengers who enjoy the rain, so just let you enjoy that tram a little bit. As I said, 1964 it was built. This was built by our founder Claude Lane and Alan Gardner at Eastbourne. Built to 2-foot gauge and then converted to 2'9" here when we moved during the winter of '69 and the start of the season in 1970. As you're all aware, we're celebrating our 50th year this year here at Seaton. Obviously not great celebrations considering that we are in lockdown, but that's worldwide. So if we can squeeze through here now, we will have a look at something else.
Oh, good luck. Yeah, it's interesting you say about weather and people, going upstairs in the rain. But sometimes we cramble to put the enclosed trams out, but we find that given the lightest of showers, we'll actually find that people will go upstairs anyway.
That's right, and that's the passenger's prerogative. Right here, we want you to be happy. If that's what you want to do, we're not going to object. Okay, so this is the side, as you can see, of car 2. Car 12. This was built at Eastbourne as an enclosed single-deck car. Whereas our heritage double-deck cars, we have been converted to single-deck cars, we actually went the other way with Tram 12. It's now an open-top car. This has been rebuilt 4 times in its life. This is the last incarnation, hasn't been changed. Actually, it hasn't been changed since before our 40th anniversary, which is obviously 10 years ago. Josh?
Yes, just got some questions coming through. Rebecca asks, are there any drawings for the tram of the trams to assist modelling the tramway?
Yeah, we can arrange that. Lee, our engineering manager, who's actually doing the filming, so if the film is a bit shaky, it's his fault. We've got full sets of drawings of most of the trams. What I would suggest you do is email in either to info@tram.co.uk or lee@tram.co.uk or gareth@tram.co.uk and we'll get something off to you.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that they're obviously, depending on the tram, they're very old, and it's something we've been developing in the background as we've had a sort of smaller archive of some of the trams. Some of them didn't have any, so we've been slowly building up. It's interesting that we've had to sort of come up with sort of mock scale drawings at the moment anyway for when we reopen, and we'll get to this tomorrow when we show you around the entire site. But we have had to sort of mock up some scale drawings to sort of gauge a view of capacities for tram, because we will be running a limited capacity once we eventually reopen in July. Yes, very interesting. Shall we pop down to these two first and then?
Well, we'll buy these. Josh.
Fantastic. No.
So this is Tram 10 and Tram 9 behind. Those watching yesterday would have seen briefly Tram 11, which was down at the station. It's still down at the station. 9, 10 and 11 came into service in the mid-2000s. They were built primarily as people movers. As we've got busier and busier over the years, queues have got longer and longer. Most of these trams hold 48, 49, 50 at a push if you've got families. And the big advantage of 9, 10, 11, of course, is the low floor, low access, easy access, so we can carry pushchairs, wheelchairs, and even mobility scooters if we've got the room and the capacity. So these are our people movers. You will see 9, 10, or 11 out most of the time.
Whilst we're talking about accessibility, actually, we've been working hard over the last few years with Living Options Devon and the Heritage Ability. Heritage Ability had a grant to sort of help local attractions and heritage attractions to become more accessible, and obviously we started that back in the early 2000s with 9, 10, 11 with their wheelchair accessible bays. But we've been really working hard over the last 2 or 3 years to just be inclusive and accessible to all, really. There's no reason for... We hope that there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to visit us for one reason or another. So we've been developing our accessibility guides, and that's been approved by Visit England. Over the last sort of 6 to 12 months, there have been visual read guides, easy read guides, and we've just taken ownership of BSL tours, which we would have introduced this season, but as we're not open, that'll be mainly next season now and a bit of the end of this season once we reopen. Yeah, accessibility is important to us, and we try our hardest, although we are sort of half-scale trams and third-scale trams in certain spaces, running on 2'9", we are trying to be as accessible as we can at all points. I've got 2 gentlemen behind you squabbling. What? We've got some questions.
Yeah, just trying to read it for you now, Josh.
Thank you, Gareth.
Okay, so Roger Manley. Roger, hello, Roger.
Hi, Roger.
Roger says, when he drove trams here at Seaton between 73 and 98, car 17 was used to convey wheelchair passengers and their carers. It could take, from memory, about 6 wheelchairs. I think, Roger, it was about 10, actually, but, you know, we won't argue on that one. I noticed that 17 has been converted to car 15, so what arrangements are now in place to allow wheelchair passengers parties to have a ride up the line?
number 17 was there to take sort of bigger parties of wheelchairs, but it was only one tram. So logistically, what we were starting to find as our visitor numbers went up is that wheelchair visitors and those that need that accessibility could be waiting up to an hour, if not more, to go up the line. And with our success of some of our events like Polar Express at Christmas, it saw the need of some more enclosed trams, so the decision was made to enclose that and rename as number 15, which is the big blue. And with the introduction of 9, 10, 11, it allowed much more rapid delivery of people with accessible needs from Seaton to Collerton and back again. So you could find that if there was a departure at 1:30 at Seaton and 1:30 at Collerton, 2 wheelchairs could travel with no problems. It's also worth mentioning that they are built for 2 wheelchairs. Obviously, once you get the bigger sort of electric ones, that does come down. But standard wheelchairs, you can fit 2 people on going forward. Okay, Gareth. Where are we going next?
Well, we've got another question, actually. Let's have a look. Finglebear. We know Finglebear.
Yes.
You and the Tramway can be like the Queen. Real birthday now, official birthday later. And that's a really good idea.
That's
and
a
that's
very
what
good
we're going to
point.
do.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
go through here. I'm sure our engineering manager will watch the pit.
Yeah,
If
mine
he
so.
suddenly disappears down the pit. He's fine. Okay, so we're back onto Road 1 now, and if we pan around that way, we can see out of the depot. Interesting thing, which Josh can point out, because he's that way, just a board that we've got up in the depot that gives a brief history of the old Seaton Branch Railway.
There it is.
Okay, so it saw 98 years, Seaton Branch as a railway. It used to run from Seaton Junction to Seaton, and I see in a lot of Facebook groups it's quite often mentioned, why don't the Tramway extend the tramway back up to Seaton Junction? Well, feasibility studies have been done on it. The main thing is there's no connection at Seaton Junction. It's now a single line straight through. Network Rail have emphatically told us on numerous occasions there's no plans to reopen Seaton Junction. So for us, it would cost a lot of money, and I really mean a lot of money, for really no benefit. 10, 15 years ago, no more than that, time slips away. You're probably 25 years ago, a feasibility study was done about extending down onto the front and running along the promenade. Would have been fantastic, but the costs were so prohibitive. Again, we couldn't take that forward. Okay, so a brief look at what's on the wall here. A big board. That basically is the driver's roster board. I write that up every week with drivers, what shifts they're on. You see the engineering board to the right. All needs updating. And it is hoped this year, at some time, it would have been done by now, that this whiteboard for the driver's rosters is going to be replaced by a big LED screen that we've actually been gifted by one of our drivers. So in the middle of writing the programme for that. So just watch this space and we'll see what happens. Josh?
Gareth, any more questions? Let's see. No more questions yet. Like I say, if you've got any questions, we're starting to get to the end of the workshop now. So if there's anything there you want to ask, we'll be heading outside soon. Gareth, is it worth mentioning some of our memorabilia on the right?
Well, we've just already talked about car 17 has been converted to 15. We kept the ends of 17, the dash panels, and below it is a rather sad northbound dash panel of southbound dash panel of car 9, which is actually behind you at the moment. This is one of our very, very few incidents that we've ever had on the level crossing. And it was a car that drove straight through the red lights. Our trams, as you know, don't travel very fast. They're not full size, but they're still very heavy. And I think it was a brand new Corsa trying to jump the lights. Just caught the front of the tram, didn't do a lot of damage to the tram, just that bit of straight work and paint work. The brand new Corsa was actually written off. Nobody was hurt at all, so thank goodness for that.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning actually, whilst we're on this subject actually, about the level crossing. obviously it is our right of way as a railway, as a tramway over the crossing, especially when the red lights are going. And we do have cameras at the crossing now, so I think for the last year or so now we've been submitting those to police, and we are getting prosecutions at them because it's important to, one, keep the driver of the car safe, but also the passengers on any of our trams, and we do have right of way. And when you're looking at a sort of a 2-ton car versus a 10-ton tram, I think we know what wins there. So it's just worth mentioning as you're driving through Collerford, just to keep safe as you approach our crossing. Obviously at the moment we're very limited. Thursday, Friday will be a little bit busier for the first time in a few months. But yeah, absolutely keep safe as you can as we go through. Should we go to 6? No?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, he's shaking his head.
That's a joke.
Oh, okay.
So car 6 is the first car built for Eastbourne, 2 foot. You can see if you look at it, car 12, which actually was a 2-foot car as well originally. The size difference is colossal. Car 6, 56, 1956, no, 1950.
It's on the front there.
Yeah.
54.
54, sorry. That's the 6s, you see, all the 6s. No, we don't want to go there. So, 1954, car 7, which is, you saw yesterday, which is out of service, has been for 16 years, I think Josh worked out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
14.
14 years. Don't know what it is with numbers today, they're just not clicking. Lovely little car to drive, lovely car to travel on. The stairs, which when I move out the way now, we'll get Lee to film, are quite tight, and we do have a bit of fun with some passengers because they think they're not going to get up there. So far, we've never got anybody stuck. Lee, would you like to?
Yeah, one of the fun comments we get is sort of those that have visited before or visited when they were kids. They sort of go, I swear these trams used to be bigger. Usually that comes from experience of riding full-scale trams. We are sort of scaled here, so and especially when this one used to run on 2-foot gauge and not 2'9". But number 6 brings us to number 8, Gareth.
Number 8, again built at Eastbourne, but built here built there for the 2'9" gauge here. As you can see, it's a fair bit bigger than car 6, allowing more passengers. Again, lovely car, proper tram, as a lot of the drivers will say, and it drives very well. In the background, if we move out onto the fan here, we call this the fan. Any tram depot had a fan, as opposed to a lot of train places had traverses, and some tram depots did as well. And there's car 19. Again, we touched on that yesterday. Ex-Exeter Corporation, open vestibule, open top double-deck car. Only Exeter car in existence, and in fact we can get Lee to have a walk through there so you can actually see inside. I think we got another question come in.
Yeah, we've got another question from Adam. How many loops are you aiming to complete on Thursday to Friday? Hard question.
Well, once an hour.
We're once an hour for 24 hours.
Even I can do that, man.
Yeah.
So, Josh, right, let's have a look in car 19. A lot of the woodworking here is original. Longitudinal seats, hard wood seats. So many trams had them. A lot of our seats have actually, our trams, especially our heritage ones, have been converted to soft, comfortable seats. They weren't like that in the old days. We do get comments about the lamps. A little old lady, a few years ago, said to me one day, she said, "Of course, laddie," so how many years ago it was, "these would have been gas originally." I said it would have to be an awful long flexible pipe to keep the gas supply as the tram was going along the lines. Okay, back out into the cab. As you can see, this is one of our trams that we use for driver instruction. That actually flips up when there's a driver under instruction. Not a lot else to say about this. It's a Dick Kerr DB1 controller. And we can come back off.
Okay, so when we talk about some of the work that's been going on behind the scenes during the start of the year and even during lockdown, of course, if we leave these trams to sort of sit and sort of rot away, in some cases that can be quite literal, that's not very good for us. So we still have engineers in through the lockdown to help us keep the trams going, and other things like you saw the carpentry bay. We've seen things which we'll walk around in a second. I think we're getting a question.
Josh, Melinda
Yes.
Finn, thank you, Melinda, for your question. Which is your favourite tram and why?
My favourite tram?
Yes.
Oh, it depends. Sometimes it's 19. I love 19 because we do the enclosed trams we use for things like Polar Express. It's a nice wide tram, and it allows perfect ability to walk up and down the aisles whilst the passengers are sat in the benches. If I was to pick a double decker, I think I'd go for number 8. Actually, number 8 I think is a really good tram. It's nice, well, like you say, nice and sturdy tram. I do like the old style of number 12 though. That's something that the guys here know about me as well. So I do like the old green style of the number 12 tram.
Okay, another question from
Fantastic.
Rebecca Bracia. I'm trying to read
Hi,
it
Rebecca.
from a 2 metre distance over Lee's
Yes.
shoulder. Right, how do you source controllers when you need spares? Right, I'll answer that one if you like, Josh.
Go on then, Gareth.
How do we source spares for the controllers? With great difficulty. We have an engineering stores where we've got various bits in that we cannibalise and move from controller to controller, but generally now if we really need spares that we haven't got, we have to have them manufactured or manufacture them ourselves, which of course can be expensive. You know, you go back 30, 40, 50 years and there were lots of controllers and bits and pieces laying around in different scrapyards and different depots that you could source. Nowadays, I'm afraid we're a little bit limited. Right, now, we've talked about the trams. I know Josh wants to talk about
I've just
something.
got a question on top of that.
Oh,
What's the farthest wide we've claimed a tram part from, say a controller or something?
Portugal.
Yeah.
We had quite a few controllers from when they were retiring trams. Well, all around the world. Austria, we've had stuff from Lee. Can't think of anywhere else. No,
fantastic.
He's just smiling at me.
Yeah.
He's a bit camera shy,
Yeah.
Lee. Only a young lad. In fact, the sad thing is I can remember when he started, he's the engineering manager now, I can remember he started as an apprentice, which is a long, long time ago. Right, Josh.
Yes. Fantastic. Okay, right. So, like I was saying, we source a lot of these things. We can build on site with the majority of things. There's very few things that we need to go and manufacture, but when we do, we have to. So it might be worth claiming. So as you'll know, when we saw yesterday, we spoke about yesterday, and you might have seen in some of our programming that we were meant to have 2 new halts open this year, one at Riverside Depot and one at Seaton Wetlands. Well, the Riverside Depot one is nearing completion, if not, majority complete. But it also meant making our depot accessible to guests if and when they arrive or depart. So Lee, follow us and we'll go around. Like I say, we're making the depot one-way system for staff. So what will happen is they'll come through the tramway here, through the depot. When they arrive, when they exit, they'll go down the side of our building. Our lovely carpenter Nick has made some lovely new gates. They're fantastic gates. They've been going over the last 2 weeks for security and just ease of access for any of our sort of bigger machinery like our tractor. What's really nice is that we thought, to make this accessible, we thought we were going to have to knock down our oil shed, or at least the back of it. But we've had it assessed, and it is accessible in terms of the width for wheelchairs and accessibility. So fantastic. So as a guest or staff member, you'd walk the way down here to our new halt. See our nice new big door, nice new door open. It's all been newly concreted, done by our lovely engineering manager Lee. Well done, Lee. Shaking his head again. But yes, there you go. Right in front of you is our brand new Riverside halt, and it's a brand new piece of decking that goes out back into the Axe River, up to the old lines of of our property and where the old railway would have had its property up once we got claim of the old steam railway. But it's a massive piece of decking that will allow a couple hundred of guests, I think we've got it rated for, to be able to come up to the Riverside depot. This will be great for when we get involved with the HLF and school visits and educational visits. Schools will be able to come from Seaton up to the Riverside depot and enter the wetlands, enter the depot, and then come back out here for the ride. But this is not finished. We'll have way more interpretation once this officially opens. This is all made possible by our funding from the Heritage Lottery funding, the National Lottery. So when you buy your lottery tickets, these are the type of projects that the lottery can fund, and we're very grateful to be recipients of that funding. It's helped us a lot in the last few years. Richard, yes, decking, it's a pier. Well, we've definitely taken some inspiration, but it's a lot of space that we didn't have before at our Riverside depot, and we're very excited to see people on it once we reopen. It's going to be very good. Now I'm just feeling some wind, so let us know if you can still hear us. What else is there? Oh, we're gonna have some more interpretation down there. There'll be some more interactive things for families and children to get involved with electricity. So part of our Heritage Lottery funding has been to engage all ages, but educational as well. So STEM projects, science, engineering, maths, etc., technology. That's been really important to us, and we've been trialling that over the last 2 years, and that's been one of the things I've been part of as marketing manager and project officer at the Tramway. So I do think, though, one of the best things about this is not just having the trams drive by, but having this massive view over the Axe Valley. It's been fantastic. Harry, can your pub team play Skittles on it? I'm sure it's possible, but I just don't know if we'll let you. Harry is one of our deputy engineers. Hello, Harry. How are you? Melinda, windy but can still hear. Fantastic. Wonderful. Docking, yes. Well, we've thought about it, but I don't know how many ships will get up. It's worth noting how the steam railway was built. If you look up the valley, you'll see this sort of secondary island that's been inserted into the valley. Secondary stream, that's has entered the river. That's all dredged up and dug up to build the Devon bank with the old railway that ran on top of it. So that was all dug up and dumped about 50 yards to the left. Don't forget, ask any questions in the comments below. If we've missed one, type it again, because it's only a small screen, we can't see them all. Gareth, we've got this big blue thing here. It's making some noises. Do you want to?
15, which you were talking about earlier, which was originally Tram 17.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's that. And round just the back of that, if we can get our camera to move round, you'll actually see.
We'll go and walk up there, I think. Right, so yeah, Tram 15. You'll also see the badge on the side of the tram here. Mr. Lee will be able to go through that. Yeah, there you go. Yes, if you didn't know already, we were launching on the 23rd of March our 50th birthday campaign, but instead of doing that, we closed because of the current situation. But it's worth mentioning that it is our 50th year in August, 28th of August, Gareth, isn't it?
Correct.
Yes, fantastic. 28th of August is Seaton Tramway's 50th year here in Seaton. There's been lots of changes, lots of different eras in that 50 years. And when we do our trip tomorrow, we'll actually be able to talk a little bit more about the actual journey and and the different parts of the tramway as they've grown. But yeah, number 15, just around the corner though. Lee's shaking his head.
No, let's just looking at the time, Josh, it's 20 to 2 already.
No.
So let's finish and say goodbye to the folks today by having a pan up towards Hollyford and eventually Collerton, obviously. And join us tomorrow. We'll take you on a tram trip right the way up to Collerton.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do a tram trip all the way to Collerton. We'll give you an idea of, about the history of the line and how to basically what it comes to be a tram driver here at the Tramway. And we'll also give you a bit of an idea about how we've made Seaton Tramway COVID secure, so that when we do eventually reopen, we'll hope to make you as comfortable as possible in the current situation once that's been allowed to do. But like we say, we're doing all this to raise a little bit more money for the Tramway under our Tramathon fundraiser. Of course, there's lots of costs that happen behind the scenes, even with our furloughed staff being protected by the furlough scheme at the moment. Maintenance and everything else needs to still go ahead with the preservation of the line. So tram.co.uk/Tramathon. If you donate at least a minimum of £5, you'll be entered into our prize draw on Thursday and Friday during our 24-hour tram trip. You'll be entered into our prize draw to enter to win anything from lifetime free tickets to data golden ticket, which gives you entrance to all the attractions throughout the county. Whole day tram driving lessons, half day tram driving lessons, driver's eye experiences, and there's many more on the website. So yeah, visit tram.co.uk/Tramathon to donate to us, and we'll be very, very grateful for your donations. Anyway, I'll leave you with this stunning view.